Close on the bill as amended.
Mr. Speaker.
The chair recognizes Ms. Isaac to close on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Wu, for what purpose?
Would the lady yield for questions?
Does the gentlelady yield for questions?
Can I lay this bill out?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you
Not
were
at this
done.
time.
Apologies. Please.
So right now, when Special Forces veterans have identified a sex trafficker, they cannot follow them into a bar. This bill allows Special Forces veterans to legally carry in areas where most LTC holders cannot, similar to peace officers and judges. This is vital when they are following traffickers into high-risk environments while gathering actionable intelligence. Right now, they are asked to provide armed protection for trafficked victims. When a survivor escapes from the cartel, this bill will allow them to protect survivors from the cartel who will do anything to get people back that they have been sex trafficking, to get them back into their control. Special Forces right now are on the front lines fighting against sex trafficking, often risking their lives and livelihood, yet current firearms and private security laws fail to recognize their unique training and mission, imposing legal barriers on those already going above and beyond to rescue sex trafficked victims. This bill recognizes and empowers Texas' most elite warriors, our Special Forces veterans, by enabling them to protect sex trafficking victims more effectively in the fight against human trafficking. Until the day comes when every local and state law enforcement agency has more than enough resources to combat trafficking, we should do everything we can to empower qualified Special Forces veterans who are willing to serve. This bill will empower Special Forces veterans. It gives them more tools, not more barriers. It ensures they can continue to protect sex trafficked victims without being weighed down by red tape. I'll answer questions.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Wu, for what purpose?
Would the lady yield for questions?
Yes.
The gentlelady yields for questions.
Ms. Isaac, does your bill only limit this power when someone is escorting a trafficking victim?
Yes, this bill is for when they are serving as when they're gathering intelligence to combat sex traffickers.
No, that wasn't my question. You said that this is vital for when they're escorting a trafficking victim, and I can see the value of that, but I don't think your bill limits it to just that.
Well, the intent of this bill is to allow, right now, we have veterans, Special Forces veterans, that are following cartel, and they are unable to follow them in certain high-risk areas like a bar. And this bill will allow them to carry firearms, follow them, and it will also allow them to, once they have a victim that has been rescued, it will allow them to protect them temporarily while they are needed.
And so I go back to my question. Does this bill only limit them to when they're protecting the victim?
Limit them.
The people seeking this ability, the Special Forces retirees.
This bill will allow them to carry firearms into sensitive areas.
When?
Which is needed when they are following cartels, okay, sex traffickers. And it will also allow them to protect victims once they've been rescued.
Because I'm looking through your bill and I don't see where it says this power only exists while they're doing that.
The intent of this bill is for them to do this while they are fighting sex trafficking.
I understand you keep saying that, but the plain language of your legislation does not say that. The plain language of your legislation just gives them this power. It doesn't say that it's only limited to when they're going into this place or when they're escorting someone. Does it?
No, that's the intent of the bill.
I understand your intent, but the plain language of the legislation trumps anyone's intent. The four corners of this, the plain wording of this language would say that once given these powers, anyone that falls within this has carte blanche to carry it whenever they want, and not just when they're escorting someone or they're doing an investigation.
This is a special class of people that already exists.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay. And we are allowing them to carry firearms into highly sensitive places, just like peace officers.
At any time.
Anytime they feel necessary.
When necessary, yes.
At any time.
When they feel it's necessary. When they feel like it's necessary.
In your bill, there is no restrictions on when they could use this ability, correct?
For their discretion.
Correct.
Okay. When these special forces people, whoever they are, when they're conducting these investigations, when they're following people, are they doing that as law enforcement officers?
No.
Are they doing that as assistants to law enforcement officers? That means that the police or the sheriffs, they have said, we want you to do this for us and do it on our behalf.
Yes, right now they are gathering intelligence and they are handing the evidence over to law enforcement. So they are assisting law enforcement.
Okay. Does your bill say that that this power only exists after you've been given approval, specific approval by law enforcement?
Yeah, so right now,
I'm sorry, yes or no?
this bill will give them authority to have a firearm in sensitive areas, period.
I understand that. My question was, does your legislation require that in order to use this power, in order to take a loaded weapon into an establishment that all other non-law enforcement persons are required to leave their vehicle in the car because of a 50%, over 50% alcohol service, or the owner of the establishment says, we don't want firearms in here?
They have to qualify for this, and the qualifications are they must serve at least 12 months in the elite special operations units like MOS, NEC, AFSC for at least 12 months. And they have to prove that they were honorably discharged. They must have a valid LTC license.
That's it?
And a background check, everything that you need to require LTC. Plus, they must prove that they have served in this capacity as a special force in the special forces.
Is it fair to say that special forces training is not the same as police training?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Is it fair to say that special forces does not get training on de-escalation, does not get training on how to resolve conflicts non-violently?
I don't think that's fair to say.
I'm sorry?
I don't believe that's fair to say.
You believe that law enforcement, or I'm sorry, you believe that special forces, they're specially trained in non-violent de-escalation?
Yeah, so I'm trying to read all. I mean, there's a lot of training that they have to go through.
It's actually not that much.
It actually is a lot. So
I'm talking
So
about
right now,
outside of
if-
their military training, what other training do they get?
okay. So training 60 hours license. So if you're how much training? Okay. In order to be a peace officer, the minimum training which most agencies exceed is 736 hours, which is about 19 weeks. And there are basic training courses of 8 weeks, advanced individual training lasting roughly 32 weeks, and then just over 2 months of specialized training to become a ranger. So overall, roughly 48 weeks of training.
And how much of that training involves teaching about firearm laws in the state, about dealing with when they are allowed to and not allowed to use their weapons in a civilian situation?
I'm not advised.
Shouldn't you be?
I'm not questioning our Special Forces veterans, no,
Well, I mean,
and their ability to do this job.
again,
It's
if
kind of
you're saying-
laughable,
if you're
actually.
saying that these service members, former service members, should be given the same powers, the same abilities as law enforcement, right, and take weapons into a dangerous environment sometimes, right? Except that the dangerous environment involves civilians who are not trained, and you're going to a bar that people might be drunk, people might be pushing you around, people might be doing all sorts of dumb things. And the reaction of someone who only has military training may not be the right reaction that we need in a civilian setting.
You said that we're giving them the same powers as law enforcement. That's a false statement.
What
All we're
other
doing is allowing them to carry into a sensitive place so that they can follow sex traffickers.
I know you keep saying follow sex traffickers, but again, your bill does not limit that. Nothing in your bill says that long after they've escorted the victim home, the next day they can go to a bar, have their weapon with them, and just say, "Well, I'm currently investigating." Is there anything that stops them from saying that?
No, but is that the same with our peace officers today? I mean, is that...
Our police officers are trained. They have been given special permission to take weapons into these places where everyone else's weapons are forbidden because they have been specifically trained to deal with firearms and unruly civilians in that setting.
You're questioning the training of our special forces, and
Yes.
I'm not questioning that,
In
no.
dealing with civilians, in dealing with people that they do not intend to shoot and kill.
I believe they're capable, highly capable, and I'm not questioning their training and their
And-
capability.
You understand that even with extensive training, our police officers right now today still make lots of mistakes because of the situation. And this is not a place where if you accidentally shoot someone, you just oopsie, right?
They have training.
Officers who
They do.
accidentally shoot someone get prosecuted.
Say, as I
And
said,
you're saying you're going to give these people the same ability to take weapons into an environment with alcohol, with people who might have been imbibing alcohol, and saying, well, they don't need anything else. Like special forces training, you know how to kill people fast, that's good enough. Like why not just offer this to all military?
This is a special group of elite warriors that are fighting sex trafficking right now, and they have barriers. They're not able to carry out their mission like they could if they were able to follow sex traffickers into sensitive areas.
And after they follow them and after it's done, then what?
They are gathering intelligence, and they're handing it over to law enforcement.
Yeah, and that's my concern is that because they're gathering evidence, that's all they would have to say. We're gathering evidence all the time, every time. We're taking it to places where people said, we don't want you to bring your firearms into our place. Places that you're not supposed to bring your firearms into place. And they're going to say, well, I'm good. I'm gathering evidence.
I believe you and I maybe disagree on something, a fact, and the fact is, if a Special Forces veteran has a firearm, everybody is safe, more safe. And I think that's just something that you and I are not going to agree on. I want our Special Forces to be able to carry firearms.
And what my point was to you is that a military training in special forces is not the same type of training that our police get. I'm sure they're much better shots than maybe our police officers, but our police officers go through years and years of training to deal with people and handle firearms in a situation that involves civilians, that involves people who are usually unarmed as well, or are usually unarmed, right?
So
And-
I didn't want to say this, but you're going to make me say it, okay? Our peace officers are highly trained and qualified, but I believe, let me finish, I believe that our special forces are more qualified and have more training. And I don't want to undermine what our peace officers do and what they have and what they can do, but I believe that our special forces, military, are more qualified.
More qualified for war.
Not necessarily.
Do special forces get training in dealing with people with mental health issues?
They still deal with civilians in the military.
Sorry. Yes, they do. When they are in the military, they are around civilians while they are serving.
They're around civilians. But I'm sorry,
They do deal with and are around civilians. It's not the
Training.
first time. Yes, they deal with civilians, and they're in areas where civilians are.
Special forces people get trained on dealing with people with mental health issues?
I'm not advised about the mental health issue, sorry.
They don't, do they?
I don't know. I'm not
Yeah.
advised. They probably do.
But that is the very problem. We're talking about a situation where you are dealing with people who are not in a combat zone, right? And you're saying that just because they got extra military training that they're now able to go do this. So you're going to take these people, you're going to put them in a quasi law enforcement role where they feel like they're already emboldened, they have power. And you're telling them you can bring a weapon into this place where no one else can bring a weapon into it.
I believe we should do everything possible to help these veterans fight sex trafficking and rescue the victims that they are doing right now. They are doing this right now, but they are not able to follow the cartel in highly sensitive areas. And this bill would allow them to do that. They have a couple of barriers right now, and this bill would eliminate those barriers.
So they would be, right now under the current law, they would be barred from entering places that serve at least 50% of their service is alcohol, and places where the people have put up a sign that says, you may not bring weapons into this establishment, correct?
Yeah, and you know who knows that? The cartel. And you know what? They don't follow those laws.
So you're saying that being armed is the only thing that's keeping them from being in there?
Yes, because when they're following them, they have to disarm to be able to continue following them.
Like, leave your gun in the car?
Yeah, like, oh gosh, now I gotta go put my gun in the car, and now I've lost this person.
Like, the 5 seconds it takes to put your gun in the car?
Well, depends on where your gun is. Sorry, I meant
And
car. Depends on where your car is.
Why do you not include in here that if you're going to do this, you have to receive special training to deal with civilians and to
Oh my
do the many
gosh.
things?
Because they're highly trained. They're the most
Highly
highly
trained
trained
in what?
individuals on the face of earth to protect.
To use combat.
And gather intelligence in the military.
But you understand that combat is not what happens like in a civilian population. It's not supposed to.
They do more than combat.
What else do they do?
They gather intelligence.
Great. What else?
I don't know what all they do. I'm very thankful that they are doing what they're doing right now, and I want to help them. And I want to remove barriers. And I would think that you would also want to remove some barriers so that they can do the job that they're doing right now.
Well, I would want them to be properly trained and vetted and to make sure that if they're being allowed to bring a weapon into this, if you're saying their investigation, that they have a actual legal right to do that investigation, that they're a part of a team that says, we're giving you permission to do this, that the government understands that it's giving permission for people to do this. You're creating a dangerous situation here.
They're already doing this.
Mr. Lopez, for what purpose?